Every thriving economy across the globe has at its transportation heart the rail service. And as I say, you can literally take this to the bank. So how well are we doing in that light, ensuring that our railway across border at the federal and state level is doing well the way it ought to? Well, you probably have the answers, but let's take you behind the scenes, particularly for the Nigerian Railway Corporation. We have on the show this morning the Managing Director, Mr. Fidel Okiria. He's right here with us in our Lagos studio. Good morning, Mr. Okiria. It's good to see you.
Good morning to you. Good morning, Nigeria.
Well, now that there's petrol scarcity, or at least price hike, a lot of people will naturally be choosing rail service where it's available, maybe for interstate anyway. So I don't know if you've seen a hike or a spike, not a hike, in the patronage in this period. But I want to link first this conversation to the one we just had right now, because I know from time to time you have livestock on rail tracks. Some of these things happen from time to time. So I don't know how you're receiving this. Is this also in line with some of your recommendations to ensure that we don't have some of these things on our rail tracks and by extension have accidents or mishaps?
If you go back, and I don't want to call it dark days, the means of transportation, apart from food, was camel.
It's the burden.
Yeah. So, as technology evolved, we moved to bicycle, people carrying people on trolley. Then you have the rail from what they call it now, the steam engine, diesel engine, people are electric engine, then people are talking about compressed natural gas now. So the route of that movement, where the designers took off from to have the rail line, which we call the permanent way. And in the developed world, I tell people, how do they have stable electricity? Stable electricity came along because they also follow the same pathway with rail. Telecommunication was also housed by rail when we are using the cable depots. And you find it easier to protect them. And because it's required for logistics and movement, it has to be up and it has to be on. Right. So that's why you see Europe, America, they are where they are now. And if you look back, people used to stay in their maze through the rail. The coach used to have a hole. You just come, you drop your mail. Somebody is in there sorting it, and by the time you get to the town, so you can't move away from the routes of the heads, or what do you call them, the men, where they use those days they also have the route of where they should go. But as we develop, I think we should also copy what they are doing all over the place. You have ranches. You don't longer have beasts of burden moving up from place to place. They should be, it's a good development, and the rail should not leave them behind. If you get what I mean.
You can actually use them to transport. Is that even something you're thinking?
So, yes, because we have brought in some wagons that can move livestock.
Interesting.
Modernization, they were assembled at Kajola. I know we are having a partnership of someone who want to take the 15 of them to Itape, so that when they come by road from the north, they can move them by rail from Itape to South Warri. And that we also reduce, because by the time they go on our path, on our route, they are tempted to remove one or two things on the track. So if we can avoid it, it will pay us.
So that's quite interesting, because I like that we're thinking ahead, and this would help the economy at large to harness all of those resources. But let's talk about just how viable the railway sector has been. I know that you've recorded an uptick in passengers. I think that was recorded in Q1, so it's welcome development. But in terms of the revenue it's generating to the economy, and that's always been a sore point. Are we generating enough to say, okay, this is a viable business, particularly because debt servicing amounts for a huge chunk of it? So as we are today, how viable will you describe the railway that you oversee?
I thought, I'm an engineer by profession.
Yeah.
And I've never worked elsewhere apart from rail. I graduated 85, joined railway 87. Where we are now is as a result of government trying to make money instead of trying to make people and their people comfortable and have means of moving without that inconvenience. Government is not a business. It is the God. After God is government. What is God making from the air we are breathing? What is God making from the water we are breathing? But when I joined government, I don't think it was just making money. But time we start introducing business schools, business that you know, to turn government into business making, and the people you put in government look at it as a source of better, get their life better instead of making the life of the general people better. So you are not developing means of transportation because you want to make profit in terms of naira kobo, because the profit will come by a lot of it indirectly. By that, if you are able to move goods and make sure that we link Abuja to Lagos, Kano to Lagos, where you have the Port Harcourt, the indirect naira agobo may not be earned by the government, but we flow into the economy, and it will develop the commerce will grow. But when you now say, I want to buy a locomotive, you want to say, when are you going to recover it directly? That MD, Nigerian Railway Corporation, when are you thinking you will get that money back? It doesn't work like that. Otherwise, your father will not pay your school fees. I don't think whether he has recovered the amount he used in training you. Because
so it's okay. It's like making an excuse for not making profits, or because the reason I'm asking, part of the debt we are dealing with comes from the railway sector because of I remember Honorable Minister Rotimi Amechi who brought a lot of revitalization of the sector, a lot of investment, and railway is not cheap by any standard, whether it's the construction and all of that. So people would naturally say, well, in a long term or in a short term, not just like the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, we had the minister here and he told us, less than 20 years, we should make a return on investment if we're putting in 18 to 15 trillion at the end of the day. So should we not also expect that from the railway as well?
I'm not part of that school. That is deceit. After 5 years, the amount you spend on the Lagos-Ibadan, go on it now. It's already having some failures. I tell you, 5 years, you come back and do it. So what should be important is making life comfortable for the people. No excuses. I'm a straight person. Anybody who tells you, even in the US, that is capital of capitalism, that rail is handled by businessmen, government still have a vote for those businessmen. Why do you talk about bailout? You have your company, and it's not going well, government come and make sure that your private business does not fail, because it's providing a sort of relief indirectly to government, because those companies are providing jobs, opportunity for their citizens. So if you now say because you want to make profit, you calculate how much you are going to make, that's when you want to link my village. My people should be able to move from using rail to Lagos. It's not going to work like that. There is an instance of a country where a rail service was being provided because of two people using it to school. They made another track by cutting that place, and they look at it. So how many passengers do we take from this place? Like, look back and say, okay, there are two people who are using that place to their schools, and they continue to run it. So I don't want to be too hard this morning, because
you can go as hard as you want. We're here to ask you the hard questions as well.
Yeah. You do a rail, a locomotive, $4.5 million. Let's check it. And it's not there that when you go start hacking, you have to do it according to your design. There are some that are up to $12 million.
So just to expand the conversation, Mr. Korea, on this one. So it looks like it's generally for public good, beyond just profit-driven. So
there is profit in it, but it's not the operator that get it. If there's a rail service coming to your
Which
station,
is bringing me to my question. We just had a conversation with Mr. Rano, who is in the livestock sector. So we should be expecting things like moving cattle, moving petroleum products.
Yes.
That will really make sense at the end of the day, because I understand what you're trying to explain. But what is the plan to that effect?
I've just told you, like, when we are modernizing the Kajola wagon assembly plant, we built 15 wagons for livestock. And maybe in the next 1-2 months, it will be deployed from Itakpe to Warri, because that's where we have gotten somebody in order to drive the economy, and in order so that we don't just go 000. We are partnering with somebody who is going to pay to move the wagons to Itakpe. Otherwise, it should not be that person's responsibility, because he's going to recover his money, and the cost is not what naturally, if the government, if we have the fund to move the wagons to Itakpe, he will charge. He's going to charge more than what if we have that enabling this thing to move it to Itakpe. And by the time you add the cost of the private businessman, the cost of the cattle getting to the market will be up. And for you to get the beef in the market will also be up, which will not be the duty of government. But the duty of government is to make life more meaningful, more because your income and expenses have to balance.
Right. So essentially from next month, as you say, that some of the herders or livestock farmers can use that service.
Yes.
So they can always reach out to the...
Not every rail line from Itakpe, because that's where
I know. Itakpe to where?
Warri.
To Warri. So they can reach out to
it's
the
about
railway.
2 kilometers.
Right. So they can always reach out to you, and then you'll provide the framework and how to go about this, I believe.
They will reach out to us, but as I've said...
Okay, when I say you, I mean the railway corporation, not you as a person.
Yes.
Okay. So I like to talk about, the other, because the goal is to really connect the nation. I dream of a time where we're able to move around the nation via rail. I know there are now plans for Ibadan to Abuja. Am I correct?
Yeah, very correct.
They're seeking government loan from the Chinese, the Chinese government to do that. I think in the region of over $1 billion or thereabout, or what is the costing for that? So give us a sense of what to now expect in the coming months regarding the rail infrastructure. What do we have on ground, and what are we hoping to add to it such that we have mobility across the nation?
What we have now is that we have the colonial track, 3,505 kilometers, Lagos to Kano, Nguru, then Port Harcourt to Maiduguri, and Kaduna to Kafanchan. Then we have the modernized track, that's the standard gauge. We have the 1067, that's the old narrow gauge. Then we have the modern
standard
track, 1435 millimeter. Lagos to Ibadan, the new one. No, we have the old one, so we have which we are still running. Is up and running. Abuja, Kaduna, about 187 kilometers. It's up and running. Itakpe Warri, that was taken over by the last administration, that started about that. It's 34 years old now. It's up and running, 302 kilometers. And recently on the Eastern Corridor, the reconstruction from Port Harcourt to Aba have been completed, and we have deployed it.
So is it running now?
Yeah, we are running Port Harcourt to Aba.
At what percentage? Fully? Is it running fully now?
It's running fully. So we are doing one up, one down.
Okay.
That's part of the Lagos-Maiduguri line.
Port Harcourt-Maiduguri line,
yes,
on the old narrow gauge. So we, before COVID, we're trying to ensure that we link Itakpe to Abuja. If you link Itakpe to Abuja, it means you have link Warri to Kaduna.
Right, because you can take from Abuja then to Kaduna.
And if you do that, I call that the DG, those who play drafts. You know what you call the DG line. If you have a DG line, you can always connect by any place. So I am praying and hoping the government take that as a very cardinal point to ensure that we link Itakpe to Abuja. Because Kano to Kaduna is coming. Last week, the minister and some team from National Assembly rode a train from McAfee to Kano, and they are working seriously now to link McAfee, Zaria, Kaduna, which means Abuja to Kano would have come on, the standard gauge would have come online. And if we now link Itakpe to Abuja, Warri to Kano, that's south to north, would have come online. Then the next, we already had a contract, Lagos to Kano. Then, because of scarce resources, it was segmented. Okay. That's where you have the Lagos, Ibadan, Abuja, Kaduna coming in, and Kaduna, Kano.
I want to now speak to the infrastructure and then how well we've been able to own it, because a lot of the technology is being provided from China and brought in. They bring expertise as well. I know that there's training of engineers. I think we received about 72 of them back in the country. But is that enough? Because if we were to just, let's imagine, sever ties with China, something happens and we say, you know what, we're going our separate ways. Can we sustain the railway? Can we say we'll be fine? Is that something that we can say boldly?
Railways in Nigeria is over 100 years, and they are manned by Nigerians. Nigerian built Bauchi to Maiduguri without any foreign help.
How many years ago?
50s, in the 60s.
Exactly. But today, can we do that without the help or without the technology?
I'm a mechanical engineer, electrical engineer. I can build a locomotive if I have the resource. My men now can bring everything down here and reassemble it.
So why aren't we doing that?
Nigerians.
So why aren't we doing that here?
You see, in GE, their vote for research and development is almost like Nigerian budget.
So funding is a problem.
Yeah. So how much is the railway budget that you see? The issue there is not whether even the Chinese that are here, when they have critical issues, they can't fall back on our engineers, because they are used to machine putting it down and removing it.
We were still doing the manual one.
You can't say manual. There are experience you gain from doing something from scratch than somebody who
just relies on
everything is just there. You now come to a situation like in Africa where you need to do it from scratch.
So I'm sorry, my apologies, sir. I'm wondering how because there's a funding that has been earmarked, 1 trillion naira, which is construction and household support. I know that the Port Harcourt Maiduguri gauge is involved in that, mentioned in that. I know that the Lagos, I think Kano standard gauge was also mentioned in that. How far-reaching will that funding be? How much are they earmarking exactly for it?
I don't know. If you see, earmark is different from availability.
That's why I use the word loosely. Because you're talking about funding. So
about
this has been
what we require now to complete the rail project is about $56 billion.
50 what?
$66 billion to link as planned in the rail development plan. So Abuja, Lagos to Kano, the former president, Olusegun Obasanjo, was a direct contract of $8.7 billion. It was a contract. Then virtually say no funds, so we fund counterpart 15%, contractor source your 85%. And all this rail can be built in 3 years. And we start enjoying the benefit and the fruits.
Okay, so let's talk about a couple of other things. There are a couple of things. We're happy we've not had incidents of security breach. So what has been done right? Because we're grateful that has not happened in a while. But we also had the issue of derailment. It seemed to be a recurring a couple of times now. So what happened? This so that we'll get the facts from the man.
You see, we've not had a major security breach, but we have people still tampering with our track. The recent derailment happened at points, similar situation. The last one that happened in Kaduna was on that train because the minister director should monitor and properly find out as a rail person. As God will do it, the train that entered derailed in that similar.
But why are you on board?
You're on board. So I could see first and could provide solution as a rail technocrat to it. It's not what I say. We have to provide additional security, which to ensure that even when they breach it by what is placed in normally, we have to secure it. And that's what we are doing all over, and to ensure that men are now at that point when the train is coming to ensure that if it's tampered with, you stop the train. That's not what a normal operation should be. But we have provided some little technology, like we have camera inside the train. We have to have camera outside the train, about panoramic camera so that can cover about 1 kilometer. For a train driver to stop, it requires about 800 meters to stop. So.
Quite interesting. In spite of the teething challenges, by the way, some people still have an issue with your argument regarding, the rail service not being for profit and all of that, particularly when they see the huge monies borrowed, to do that, and they expect that, we pay back. But always an ongoing debate. I'm sure next time you come, we'll still ask you that same question and seek to get clarity, because we need to get value for the money we borrowed. But I speak to issues around ticketing. People say they buy ticket and they don't get the refunds when they are meant to on a certain day. Some say that sometimes the air conditioning is turned off and they have to open the window in business class. And these are some of the things people put out there. I know you have a handle, but how responsive are you? And particularly for those refunds and the infrastructure within, what is going on?
You see, we don't need to pretend. In our culture, our tradition, somebody that is not willing to travel buy the tickets. There's nothing like boarding like you do in the plane. And for instance, if 50% of people buy the ticket and did not travel, that day you have lost. That's it. So it's not only in Nigeria, it's all over the system.
So no refund for them?
No refund. No refund.
What if the service in our acts? What if the service?
No, if the service is not provided, okay, you can use it. But once the service is provided, because that's it you have, nobody else will take that seat. Because now we have deployed electronic ticketing. You can, before we started, say 12 hours before. Now we are talking about 72 hours. You can plan your journey 72 hours and buy a ticket. So and you are not going to tell us you are not going to travel. So if you are buying the ticket, let's say for within Lagos, I think it's 1,500, and maybe 100 people bought that ticket and they did not come back to use it, and you want to use it tomorrow, and that thing was not available for another person.
Okay. So if there is an urgent, and I like asking this question so that to help government with prioritization, because of paucity of funds, so we need to know where we're throwing our monies to get the results we want to get. So for the real sector, if you're talking to President Bola Tinubu and there's something you want him to do as urgent as yesterday, what will it be? Nigerians may like to know.
I'll ask him to connect Itakpe-Warri, connect Lagos to Abuja. I'll continue to work on the Eastern Corridor, because now, if you connect Itakpe to Abuja, and we are no longer exclusive, right? Anybody can come in. You can look for the shortest distance to the state capital of your state capital, and the state can come in. It's almost close to every state. Okay. So you don't need to run the train from Port Harcourt to Marigold. You can link Umuahia to that line. Okay. You can link Kefi or Lafia, can link Abuja, and you go to Kano. Are you getting it? So my priority would be just link north to south by the shortest.
It sounds like a no-brainer, really, but quickly as we wind down. We had a conversation about the airports yesterday. We're big on transportation because you need it for business. And, the MD of FAN says a majority of the airports are not viable. Because particularly states now coming up with this airport, that airport. 3 out of 22 are only viable. So if you were to speak to states, but we also need the rail services within states. We see what Lagos is doing. Well, the FCT is not a state, but we see what could be the possibility in FCT. So would you advise certain states, to go that route? I see you're chuckling already.
Yeah, because it's not cheap. So we can partner, like we are partnering with Lagos. Okay. We are partnering with Plateau. Which other states trying to
Rivers. What about Rivers? Rivers had something that was.
Rivers had the monorail. Yeah. And I don't know why they decided to abandon it. Yeah. Because you see, the beauty of a rail, it may not be fast, right? But it gets you to point as plans.
Oh, absolutely, and you can always depend on it.
Yes.
So basically, you're saying majority of states are not viable when it comes to entering into railway.
I don't think they have the resources. See, in our previous act, nothing stopped anybody from building rail. Yeah. It's just to be guided. So you want to build rail? Come. The Nigerian Railway Corporation give you the permission, which whether exclusive, you must have somebody regulating it. Yeah.
Quite interesting, really, but we have to thank you so much. We need to ensure that the rail service works, it is viable, and it gives us the adequate return. Whether you say it is directly or indirectly, but we need those returns. Okay. But we have to thank you so much.
Thank you. I will say this. Yeah, quickly. You are not building your house because you want a return. You are building it because you want the comfort.
It depends. If you're a landlord,
transportation.
If you're a landlord, you want rent, Mr. Okiria.
Your rent can never recover your landlord. I can take that as a topic. Your rent can never pay.
It's okay, I don't know how much I pay for rent.
Let's have this conversation another time.
We'll still ask for the money. 2 billion, we're impressed, but it can be better. But 2 billion, we're impressed. It can be better.
People that are benefiting, we are already getting the benefits.
All right, we have to run now. You've been decades in this industry, so wish you the very best and wish the Railway Corporation the very best. So we're speaking to Mr. Fidel Okiria, who is the MD of the NRC. So when next you hop on a train, this is the man who is.
This is the man responsible.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. I appreciate you and I appreciate Nigerians.
All right. Well, we'll go to break now. When we return, we speak with one of the faces. Well, you don't speak with faces, but we'll find a way around this. One of the faces you love to see on the big screens. Atlanta, that's the clue I'm going to give you. So stay with us right here on The Morning Brief.